What you're about to hear is raw. These are honest conversations about healing, mental health, and the weight we carry. While we are mental health professionals, this is not a substitute for therapy. The views shared here belong to those speaking, shaped by their stories, not by their institutions. Listen with care. Take what you need.
Mimi, what you asking for is for us to be humans.
Yeah,
I don't know if we can do that.
that might be a little too hard to ask, but
We're a consumer economy. I just told you he's in Sam's Club, $6,000 worth of damage already, and you just told me let him finish and move the stuff out the way.
yeah, move the stuff out the way. It can be fixed. You can't just fix a human like by letting go down. You gotta let it ride it out.
So you asking me as a Sam's Club manager to put my job on the line,
Yep.
right,
Yep.
and be a human.
Yep.
Welcome back to Shift to Heal. My name is Justice Payne Tyson, better known as the Neighborhood Therapist. I'm blessed to be here today with you with my homegirl. I call her Mimi. You haven't earned that right. Me, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, what's up? My name is Me, also known as Mimi. Nice to be here, Justice.
And of course, you know I got my brother with me, Terry. Terry, what's good with it?
Not much. Here again, Terry Jenkins Jr. Back again on Shift to Hill. Let's get into it.
Okay. Got a special one for y'all today. This is an education for me too, Mimi. I have people around me that have autism, but I can't say that I truly understand. And Mimi, this is what she does. This is her bread and butter. This is what she's passionate about. This is how I met Mimi. She came in, she was like, hey, you have anything going for people that have autism? I was like, nah, I really don't. Well, you should. Okay, my bad. You know what I mean? Like, so it's an absolute honor to be talking about this topic with you. So let me just jump right into it. What are the levels of autism? Define autism. So let's just jump straight into it.
Yeah, so I started my autism journey probably about 3 years ago, and I was working at a school in the special education area, and I met a very special boy. And if you know me, you know this story, and I talk about him all the time. But at the time, he was living kind of in a foster care kind of system because of a lot of stories. Can't get into it, but he was nonverbal. He still is nonverbal, and he would make little noises, and I would always look at him and be like, oh, you're so adorable. But he always make little sounds that were Levels. So when we were creating this episode, I was like, oh, the Levels of Autism, the levels of autism, because autism is a spectrum. And so you can't just look at someone and just think, oh, they have autism or this and that. So that's kind of what jump started my journey. And when I met Justice, starting my internship for being an LPC, I was sitting in my clinic, in an autism clinic, and like you can see in the background, there's like leaves and all these like tiny little chairs, and I'm like, Justice, it's nice to meet you. I feel like this is where I really need to be. Like, how can we collab together in order to kind of start this autism journey together? And so through this, I kind of learned, working with adults and also working with children, but also incorporating all these kind of counseling skills in order to help the other side of it, like how to help parents and everything else that deal with kiddos that have autism, especially like first time parents. So it's been a learning process for me, and also as you as well, as you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Mimi, you talked about autism and talked about how it's a spectrum, right? It's not like all severe mental illnesses. A lot of people, especially people watching, may not be as educated when it comes to mental illness. Can you talk about what are some other severe mental illnesses and where autism kind of falls in that range?
Right, that's a good question, actually. If you've worked with children or anybody with autism, there's a lot of other mental health issues that could probably be a part of it. So there's anxiety that goes with it. A lot of kiddos that I've worked with in the past had ADHD, so it's like a lot of combinations of things. Some kiddos will have like attachment disorders, all types of stuff that could really go into it. But I think one of the things that's really hard about trying to like label those type of things is it could be one thing and it could be another, because all the symptoms kind of run together, right? So like even when we're in our sessions and we're trying to figure out what our clients are dealing with, a lot of times it could be one thing and then we realize, oh, there's like an important missing piece and it's like another thing. So sometimes it all kind of runs together, but I think a big part of it is just like the inclusion of it. It's like you're just looking at a person beyond what is their disability, quote unquote, right? It's like even if a person does have autism, they're still human. And so a lot of it is making sure that they feel included and like treating them how you would want to be treated, right? Regardless of these stigmas or these labels. So yeah, that's kind of how I think about it in terms of, interaction and like socialization and everything.
Okay. So you brought up a great point.
Yeah.
Is it cool if I be ignorant with you?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I mean like ignorant in the negative way that most people use it, right?
Yeah.
So when I speak to a lot of people that are truly not understanding autism, right? They come at it from a very nasty viewpoint because it's been, over time, it's had different names, right? I'm not gonna say the names on here because, harm, right? But now we're at the point where neurodivergent is describing a form of autism, right? But how do we help people get to a place where like we understand, hey, this person is human too. They understand what's going on. They understand what you're doing to them. It's not cool.
That's a really good question. I think a part of it is being empathetic, and I think empathetic and being like having a lot of empathy really gets lost in translation, especially because people think that they're empathetic, but they're really more sympathetic in terms of, oh, I'm sorry that you're going through that, or, oh, this and that. I think truly being empathetic is really understanding like if that were you and you were in those shoes, would you want to be treated the way you are, seeing other people treat other people, especially like when you go out in a store and you see a kiddo that's like maybe screaming or they're having, an emotional breakdown or however the case may be. Like if you really think about it, some people go through that on a daily basis, but they just do it in private. Kiddos that are on the spectrum may not be able to have that awareness, so they might have a breakdown in public and they're not able to emotionally regulate themselves yet. So a lot of it is looking at it beyond just like what you see it is, because a lot of people might not know how to regulate themselves even if they are neurotypical. So imagine what it's like being atypical and then you're trying to emotionally regulate yourself in a high pressure situation, and then you have a parent who might not be able to deal with that situation either. And so you bring all those factors together and you really think, wow, what would I have done if that was me? So that's kind of the way I would approach it, and just like being open-minded and understanding like these are some some hard situations that parents deal with. So
All right, so I'm gonna need you to break down neurotypical and atypical.
so neurotypical is what everyone would define as normal, like you function in certain ways, or like what society kind of puts on us as typical, right? So like you're able to communicate, you're able to emotionally regulate yourself, all those type of things. And then for me, atypical is like if you're on a spectrum, like you deal with things certain ways that people might not seem as normal, quote unquote, right? So some people might have better coping strategies than others. Some are more acceptable or not. Like with kiddos with autism, they have, fidget toys, or they might have a comfort toy or whatever it is. So that might be seen as weird, like you're seeing maybe a 12-year-old carry around a plushie all the time. That might not seem normal because what kids grow out of plushies at like 5, 6, or whatever the case may be. But honestly, I'm like 26 and I still have my comfort pillow. So I think people have too many stigmas on that aspect, and people can deal with things in a lot of different ways.
All right, the more and more I'm learning about autism, the more and more I'm starting to feel like everybody is on the spectrum. I'm not, listen, I know how that sound, yo, but what you describing is literally everybody. Atypical, neurotypical, you can go into that depending on your mood. I know, now listen, I'm not saying, I understand the chemical imbalance. I understand that. I've seen it at its peak where a kid cannot control what they're doing, and the because they're overwhelmed, right? That's a big thing. They're overwhelmed. But I've also seen somebody that was normal get overwhelmed. We call them Karens. I'm just saying. Am I tripping right now? Just talk to me. Just if I'm tripping, you are the professional. Tell me I'm tripping. Hey, it's not the same. I'm just saying what somebody else is thinking. That's all. Talk to me.
I think the same thing, so maybe cancel me too. But yeah, cancel me if you want to, but.
But I think it all stems from the word neurotypical, right?
Yeah.
what's normal to be human, right?
Right.
It's I mean, I don't consider myself a normal person just because of the way I think in my mind. Like, so to kind of establish a, for better lack of term, normality towards human beings, what's normal? What's a normal human? What's the normal reaction when you're mad? What's the normal reaction when you're sad? What's the normal reaction for when you're frustrated? But in reality, there is no normal reaction. Now we can say there's a level where you shouldn't go overboard. You know, I have a 5-year-old, so I'm teaching her like, you getting mad because you can't have more ice cream. It's way different than being upset or mad if, you know, let's say someone hit you at school, right? There's different levels. You shouldn't react and get mad and pout and stomp your feet and cry because you can't get ice cream. That's not a neurotypical response. It's not a proper response. But if someone hits you, I can't say you getting mad and hitting them back or crying and stomping and then hitting them back. I would assume that's a proper response. So I just feel like we have to kind of, when it comes to being normal, kind of figure out what's really normal. Is anybody really normal? Because we're all individuals, right? We all respond differently depending on what's going on in our lives. We all have different backgrounds, different cultures, look different, different influences, different religions. So I can't tell you what's normal because what's normal to me might not be normal to you.
Period.
Oh, so he's bringing up a beautiful topic. He's taking us straight into it. How can you tell if somebody is autistic?
You can't.
Can't?
You can't. Well, in some aspect, maybe you can, but like I said, it could run with other things too, other mental health that, you know, you might assume so. I mean, there are some, you know, disorders that you can tell because, like, a part of it is their facial recognition, so like the way their face looks. But for a lot of times, there are people that I've run into that do have autism, and I would have never known unless you told me. So you can assume that someone has autism by, you know, if they make certain noises or if they have repetitive motion of like their hands, their feet, or whatever the case may be. But honestly, I think it can be harmful to assume, but I think it's better to ask than just to always assume this person has autism or this person has this, because I might look normal, but I might have other things going on too. So I think the assumption part is really what makes it harmful, and also like projects a lot of like stereotypes as well as a lot of other things that we stay ignorant towards. So
The proper uses of ignorant.
yes.
Is what you,
Yeah.
Okay.
And then last but not least that we have here, could you talk about being elevated and what does that mean to you when it comes to autism? Kind of, I guess, kind of talk about being elevated as far as consciousness of autism in your society, like understanding how to operate around people with autism.
That's a good point to bring up. I think operating as you normally would. I think everybody's human. Everybody deserves the same chance. Everybody deserves to be treated how they want to be treated. I think the biggest thing that needs to be elevated is the empathy part. Like having empathy and compassion for people, especially if you don't know what they're going through. I think that's the biggest part that everyone should really keep an open mind to. But just act how you normally would. Like treat everybody how you would want to be treated. Like if you see somebody get treated like shit, would you want that too? Probably not. So I think that's the best way to approach it, especially if you're not sure or uneducated about the subject. Like do your research, ask questions, but also just act how you would normally act.
Okay. All right. This is what I do, Mimi. So you got to forgive me. All right. I'm going to give you a scenario.
All right, let me hear it.
All right. Teenager, supermarket, parent is present. Teenager starts knocking things over. I actually seen this on social media. Kid got on, I think it was Sam's Club, got on the TV stands and started knocking down TVs, right? As a Samaritan, do you mind your business? Or if you attempt to help, how do you help?
I think I've seen this before. I've actually had this situation before, and I had to educate my own friends about, for one, not staring and not laughing, because I think that's very rude and very ignorant. But I also think it depends on the parent. If you see that the parent is overwhelmed, maybe help pick up the items that they knocked over, call for help. In some cases, if you really don't think you're going to add to the situation, like in a positive light, then turn and mind your business, because you don't want to overwhelm the child or whoever it is that, they might be having an emotional breakdown or whatever the case may be. So I think it really depends on how you think you'll add to the situation. But for me, I would probably gauge it and then maybe pick up the stuff around it and like keep myself out of the business, because you also don't want the parents to feel guilty or burdened or shameful because they're not sure how to act in that situation, especially because it's in public. So I think that's the best way to approach that type of situation, especially if it's a teenager, because you also don't know if they could get aggressive, and you also don't want to put yourself in harm's way. So
Okay, I like that.
yeah.
So overall, there is no playbook of, hey, try this skill to calm someone down.
Yeah, I don't think so, unless you're
Okay.
like an actual specialist and like a professional. But then also, again, you have to think about the parent too. Like, do you want them to feel burdened, shameful, and like, look back and feel guilty about whatever the situation is happening? So I'd be very mindful of that part of it. And just like, if you're not adding anything positive to the situation, like, don't do anything else to like make that situation harmful. So,
Okay. My last question for you.
yeah.
Do you know if police are trained properly on a situation like this, or do they call in mental health professionals?
From what I've seen, there have been stories that I've heard about, kiddos that have autism that grow up and they get really strong, they hit their parents, cops are called, and I'm pretty sure they are not trained unless they work on like a mental health unit. I know in a lot of cases, like, they will call like a crisis team, and usually it's like one LPC or whatever the case may be, but for the most part, they're not like NCI trained, like nonviolent crisis intervention training. So for the most part, I don't think so.
Okay, so that's a gap. We got a gap there.
Yeah, big one.
Ooh. Thoughts on that?
I did kind of a study back in college because there was a lot of police violence things going on. Still go on today, of course. But police, my grandpa's one, I've talked to several. When I went to school, I worked at a little gas station, and they would come in. I worked overnight, and they would come in and just talk to me. So it was a pressing matter because during this time, someone had got wrongfully shot and killed at my school. The guy was handcuffed. He was in the back seat of the police car, and somehow he shot himself and killed himself, right? And so talking to several police officers, they're trained to do what they call, I think it's the next up tool or step up tool.
Yeah.
So let's say if I approach a cop and I'm yelling, at that point in time, if I'm yelling at them, they have the right to use
Escalation.
to de-escalate the situation.
Force.
Yeah, they're a little bad or taser. If I come at them physically, my fist or even a weapon, anything that could be considered a weapon, they're trained to step up. Now they can use their gun, and they're only trained to shoot in the chest and at the top. That's it. They're not trained to shoot to basically, put you in a situation, where you can't respond. And so if a person has autism and I'm a cop and I'm not aware, right? And this person, like you said, in Sam's Club, they're being aggressive, they're knocking down TVs and they're throwing stuff everywhere. I may just think it's a person who's drunk, on drugs.
Or like psychosis.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a cop.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is what they train me to do. So this person is throwing objects, I'm going to go right in and tase. If that don't work and they come at me, then I'm going to shoot. So it's a problem, right? It's a huge problem. Because the police deals with the general population. And a part of that general population is people who have autism and other mental illnesses.
It's a bar.
And so they should be properly trained. But they're not. It's not something they're trained on. So.
That does come with a big question, especially when you asked earlier, like, how can you spot someone that looks like they're autistic or not? So I think it is a big gap. Yeah.
They should hire us.
Yeah.
He's asking a good question though. If they were to come to you and attempt to hire you for something like that, are you open to that?
I would definitely be open to it. I think I could give a lot in that expertise, but that does sound like a lot of pressure. I'm not gonna lie.
So you're open to the training aspect of it?
Mm-hmm.
What about going in the field? Like a negotiator?
Oh, you sound like my tax dude. He was asking if I wanted to join the CIA. I was like, I don't know, brother. But
I'm just saying, like, again, another cancel moment. I feel like police should police their own communities.
Oh, yeah.
And they should know their own communities. So autism should have a community of people on the police force or professionals that have grown up or are experienced or experts in autism.
That is true. I agree with that.
Because everybody who's on the side of the street that may be considered homeless, when they're spazzing out, everybody isn't on drugs. That person may not be on drugs. They might not be drunk. They may be having a mental breakdown. They may be experiencing psychosis. And you approach them like there's someone on drugs. Their interaction is completely different if I approach them knowing, oh, this person has autism. It's a completely different approaches. So, yeah.
I don't know if y'all know this about me. Only reason I am a therapist, well, one of the reasons I am a therapist is because I grew up talking to homeless people in the hood. I would aggravate them right before they shoot up or right before they're going through whatever they're going through and ask them questions. So 100% I would be perfect for homeless negotiation. You understand? So, but like, what does that look like? That's what I'm saying. What would being a professional, right? This is what I do. Autistic people is my passion. I love being around them. What does that look like with the police force? Because I'm telling you, I can see a situation where a cop going in and they just escalating. They go, and it's level 1 through 5. Sometimes they do level 1 through 4, and then they also have the colors. They got blue, red, green, orange. And I got a background on that. That's what I'm telling you. I'm never talking about that on here, by the way. But but they go through the levels, but they skip levels. That's the part we're gonna talk about. They skip levels. So if they go in there and my man is already knocked over 5 TVs at Sam's Club, right? That's already what, $6,000 of TVs? They looking at it like, yo, come down. And he like, whatever happens in that moment, however he responds. So they quick to go to, what we doing? So I'm asking you, in a situation like that, if you're there, you're on site, you're in an official capacity, you got a badge, meaning you got a badge, right? No gun, because you don't need it, right? What do you do?
Honestly, I would probably just let him ride it out.
Let him finish knocking over everything?
Yeah. I'm just saying, I'll let them write it out. I mean, when I was working with my kiddos and they're having a hard time, sometimes I'd be in that room for 40 minutes letting them write it out. Obviously, I would move stuff, block things, and then just make it as safe as possible. But at that point, if someone is nonverbal, they can't communicate, they can't express themselves, what else are you going to do? You're going to harm them by tasing them, or whatever that case may be, or no, just let them write it out. Move the stuff. There are a lot of alternatives to making that path safe. Maybe throw down a bed and let them tire themselves out. I mean, it's not really ideal in that aspect, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, and I think that's the right approach, or at least the better approach.
Mimi, what you asking for is for us to be humans.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can do that.
That might be a little too hard to ask, but
we're a consumer economy. I just told you he's in Sam's Club, $6,000 worth of damage already, and you just told me let him finish and move the stuff out the way.
Yeah, move the stuff out the way. It can be fixed. You can't just fix a human by letting go down. You gotta let it write it out.
So you asking me as a Sam's Club manager to put my job on the line,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And be a human.
Yep. I'm just saying.
Damn.
That's what we doing. I would advocate for that person even if I didn't know them.
Yeah, we gotta do better. We gotta do better, yo. All right. Where do we go from here? As a people, I don't want to get in the way. If I encounter somebody that has autism and having a rough time, I don't want to be a part of the problem. But I also don't want to make them feel like they're a project. Mm-hmm. How do I operate? Okay, you told me empathy. I heard you. Mm-hmm. What else? Like, what if I this is me. This is personally. I'm serious. I am really like this. When I'm around people that have autism, I feel like those are the most brilliant people on the planet Earth. Because you got a lot of them that are savants. They're like super smart in math, super smart in like areas. They have certain areas where they just excel. I know one person that can do math in his head like that. I could never. You know what I mean? Like you feel me? Like I could never. But like, how do I hold a conversation with them, right? And another point. Sometimes I know this might be a stereotype, but I think it is facts. When you talk to people that have autism, sometimes some of the stuff they say comes off blunt and harsh. Because the cues aren't there, the social cues aren't there, right? How do I stay there? Because I enjoy it. I enjoy the conversation, but how do I stay there and not feel like I'm belittling them, or if we laugh at a joke together, they don't feel like I'm laughing at them type of thing. Like, how do I maneuver properly?
I'm gonna say the same thing I said earlier. Empathy. Just move how you would always move. Just talk to them like you normally would with everybody else. Even if you feel like the situation might be awkward, like for them it's not awkward. You're just having a good conversation. So from their point of view, it might be a lot different. Well, it probably is a lot different from yours. So I would say just talk to them how you normally would. Like even if it seems awkward on your side, they're probably having a blast in their head. So you never know.
And if they're not, they'll let you know.
Yeah, they'll probably let you know. I'm just saying.
Okay. All right, there y'all have it. And again, Mimi, thank you. This is an education. And
I'm glad.
You listen, y'all. The reason why I brought her on is because this is just me personally. Mimi, I might be blowing up your spot. It is what it is. Listen, y'all. Mimi is very quiet and meek around people she may not know. But when I tell y'all she's one of the coldest therapists I know, that's not just me gassing up. She really is that. I've put her in a room with different types of people, different types of hues. She's outlasted. I didn't put her in there with some dogs. You hear me? Straight dogs. She know what I'm talking about. I got some clients that are straight dogs. They like, yeah. So what you specialize in? Why? Why you do that? They was on Mimi's head, and she was like, well, because. I'm like. So I'm just saying all that to say, Mimi, I need you to spark up, because you got this light in you and you need to let it shine. You are phenomenal at what you do. I can clearly hear the passion about autism. Let the world be put on notice. Seriously.
You trying to make me cry or what?
I mean.
Thanks for the gas. I appreciate it.
Terry, you got anything, brother?
Not at all. Not at all. Continue to do you. Follow your passion, and people like you are needed, man. The autism community needs you. So continue to be you. You never know what type of impact you're having on someone's life just by being you. So.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And with that, folks, we'll see y'all next week.